here's the big question. You're interested in value investing and valuing and evaluating businesses on a deep level, but you don't know how, even after researching for hours, probably dozens of hours, hundreds of hours on the internet, and because nobody else shows you how to do it. This podcast has all those answers and much more about value investing in finance. My name is Jason Rivera. Welcome to Value Investing in Your Car.
Hey, Jason here. In this episode of Value Investing in Your Car, we're again not in my car. This time it's for a more straightforward reason though, because I just finished the book, First Break All the Rules, and I want to do a book review of that book in this episode of Value Investing in Your Car. Before we get to that, please remember, Value Investing in Your Car, these episodes are now available as a podcast, available on all major Android, Apple, PC platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast Go, SoundCloud, Anchor, and on. It should be available pretty much everywhere. You listen to podcasts, and if you like listening to podcasts, make sure to check us out on the Value Investing in Your Car podcast. You can listen to us anywhere for free now. Okay. Having said that, let me get to the book review of First Break All the Rules. I'm a bit conflicted about this book. I believe that if you are willing to work hard enough, if you are willing to do the hard work to learn valuable new skills and acquire valuable new skills, I believe anybody can put their or do anything they want to if they're willing to put in that kind of hard work. Obviously, some of that depends on your kind of body stature. At 5'5", 150 pounds, I'm not going to be the next LeBron James. It's not going to happen. My odds of making the NBA are 0 to negative. It's not even slim to none. It's 0 to negative. So some of this does depend on your body kind of structure and how you're built. But in terms of mental capacity, I'm a huge believer that if people are willing to work hard enough, learn enough valuable skills, they can do anything they want. Why? Because that's the way I was raised, and B, because I'm proof it can happen. I knew nothing about finance. I knew nothing about investing. I knew nothing about anything finance, investment related 13 years ago. Nothing. And now I've gone from that to being Warren Buffett in the first 6 years of my career when comparing our investment returns, writing investment books, having investment coaching services with clients around the world, written 2 books, and on. Did I have a kind of internal of numbers and business and that kind of stuff before this? Yes. Do I have an eye for art, and am I good at design or art or anything like that? No. Do I believe that I could become decent to good at that over time? Yes. But why am I talking about this kind of stuff when it comes to a book review? Because I wanted to give some context to this review. Again, at the beginning, I said I'm a little bit conflicted about this book review, because one of the main premises of this book is that people, if they don't have the talents for certain things, they shouldn't be put into certain positions. They should be best maximized for their strengths, which I agree with that part. You shouldn't work on your weaknesses at length. Again, I believe in that. I believe you should work at your strengths, focus on your strengths, work on your strengths, and you should optimize your day around what your strengths are, or your work day and your work career around what your strengths are, because you can hire away your weaknesses. I'm a huge believer in that. And that's what a lot of this book talks about. They kind of contrast strengths and weaknesses versus talents. And again, I agree with a lot of the strengths weaknesses part, but the talents thing, it just bothers me when people say you have certain talents that you can't really train. You have certain talents that you're innately born with, and again, that just bothers me. After all I've learned, again, this book is an older book. I think it was released in the early '90s, mid '90s, something like that, originally. So a lot of the brain science has a lot of the kind of stuff talked about in this book, and this is another reason why I'm conflicted, is because while I agree with a lot of the stuff in the book, science has proven that a lot of this stuff isn't true. There isn't necessarily a thing called innate talents. People can learn pretty much through the power of neuroplasticity, essentially your brain learning skills, and your brain changing itself can learn anything. If you put enough time, hard work, effort into it, you can learn anything you want. So again, I think a lot of this is because the science has surpassed this book. So that's probably why it's a little bit outdated in terms of the talents and stuff that it talks about. But there's a lot of great. Having said that, and it's just a personal pet peeve of mine when people say you can't go past a certain level. Like if you don't have a certain IQ, you can't do certain things. That stuff kind of bothers me. So this personal pet peeve of mine more than anything. Having said that, there's a lot of great stuff in the book. Focus on your strengths. Focus on improving your strengths. Work with your strengths. Again, I suck at that's personal. I suck at design. I suck at art. I don't have an eye for it. I don't even know what to look for when we're designing stuff on the website or our book covers or anything like that. I tell one of my design people, you handle all this. You give me a bunch of kind of mock-ups, and I'll tell you which ones I like and prefer, and kind of go from there. I give them kind of very general guidelines. It needs to look professional, simple as possible. That's pretty much it that they know at this, or that I constantly tell them. Simple, clean, professional looking. That's all it needs. That's all the guidelines I give them, and then they go from there. Give me mock-ups, and we kind of hone in on what I like. Again, I can't explain why I like it because I don't have an eye for art. And then we go from there and tweak until we get to the final version. When it comes to numbers and finance, again, I have always been numbers and finance and business, but I didn't know anything about it specifically until starting about 12, 13 years ago. So I hire that stuff out to my other team members who are great at that. Let them do what they're great while I can work on what I'm great. And numbers, finance, investing, creating content for you, helping clients, all this kind of stuff. So again, I'm a big believer in that. Also, it's a more updated version. Dan Sullivan, he calls it unique ability. Dan Sullivan, fantastic entrepreneurship coach. Strategic Coach is his main company. And I'm a big believer in that concept of working on what you should, quote unquote, be working on, and hiring out all the stuff you should be working on. Again, that's a more updated concept, or it's a more updated kind of terminology from what the authors of First Break All the Rules use. So I'm a big believer in this kind of stuff. But again, it just contrasts with one of my pet peeves. So I'm not a big believer in self-limiting beliefs. Actually, I don't believe in those kind of beliefs at all. I believe, again, you can do anything in your mind to. So where I'm struggling with this review, it's usually pretty straightforward. I either really like it or it's just kind of This one, again, is a little bit different because these two forces are kind of fighting each other. A lot of great stuff in the book. It's still a little bit outdated, but again, that's because the book is older. I think, again, it came out in the 90s, and brain science has kind of surpassed things. But if I had to give a review on this book in terms of the score, I'd probably give it a 3 or 4 out of 5. Why? If I love so much in the book, why? Frankly, because a lot of the stuff is outdated. Again, a lot of this stuff has kind of, in terms of brain sciences and study on talents and mastery and greatness, it's kind of surpassed this book in terms of what the talent aspect of what they talk about in the book. The information, although it's great, I think it's presented better elsewhere. For example, Strategic Coach, Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, he presents this, in my opinion, better than this book does, in terms of the unique ability and working at your strengths and hiring away your weaknesses, only focusing on things you should be focusing on and that are essentially your unique ability, and then hiring out the rest of the stuff you shouldn't be doing or you hate doing. Again, 3 or 4 out of 5. If I would have read this book, probably 2-3 years ago, I would have given a higher score just because I wouldn't have known that much about this arena yet. Or not nearly as much as I do now about this arena of getting better and working toward your strengths and all that kind of stuff. But in the last year to two, I've really kind of honed in on my own unique abilities and figured out what I'm really great at, and I've started to delegate everything else to my team only in the last year or two. So I've learned an enormous amount about this kind of stuff. So again, this is based on my perspective as of today. Again, if I would have read this book 2-3 years ago, I probably would have given a higher score. But again, I just think the premise about the talents thing, it just bothers me, and science has kind of gone further than that. Excuse me, I'm fighting off a little bit of a cold, which is why I keep clearing my throat. And I just think other people present all the other information is great. I just think other people present it better at this point. Again, that's because this is a older book. Again, I believe it came out in the 90s, that kind of stuff. So, good book. I wouldn't say a great book. If you don't know much about this arena, you'll probably take a lot away from it. Again, this is my perspective because I've learned an enormous amount about this kind of stuff in the last year to two. That, again, I was expecting a little bit more, to be honest with you. So, to me, a lot of the stuff is just being kind of rehashed. If I would have learned this book first, probably would have been better. Probably would have been a better experience for me. Probably would have led me on a different path where I would have found this information later. So, if you don't know much about this arena, you probably like it more than I did. But again, I just think there's better resources. Again, Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, a lot of his stuff. He has free podcasts out there, free YouTube videos, books he's written. If you can't afford his Strategic Coach program, which I can't yet, I want to get into. If you research this, I want to get into that program at some point when I can afford it. But it's just fantastic, and I will actually do another episode about this. Talk about kind of unique ability and doing what you should be doing, kind of hiring away or hiring for your weaknesses and delegating the rest of the stuff you shouldn't be doing. The next episode I'll make about that topic because it's pretty fascinating, and it's changed my kind of, since I've learned about this probably about a year and a half ago, just completely changed my mindset on what I do and what I spend my time doing and that kind of stuff. So, we'll talk about that in the next episode of Value Investing in Your Car. Until then, hope you enjoyed this book review. Again, I can't fully recommend this book. Can't do it this time. Normally I do in this section if I get to the point of reading the entire book. It's because it's fantastic. I just love it. Can't do it here. Good book. Outdated information, all that kind of stuff that we just already talked about. So, if you enjoyed this, make sure to like, love, share, comment, and I personally respond to every comment myself. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and comment and share. And also, if you subscribe, to hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime we release a new video. And last week, we passed 400 videos total that we've created at this point. So, and releasing new content all the time, so you'll be notified anytime we release new content. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and all that kind of jazz. Let us know if you like this kind of content. Again, sorry for the clearing of the throat. Fighting off a cold/sinus infection still. Really appreciate all you guys for listening. Until next time, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.